And this visual appearance alone doesn't tell us a whole lot about how we're moving or our breathing. I recently posted a video on how to address rib flare, and this was a video that went through a multiple stage progression. This was pretty comprehensive, so if you haven't seen that already, you can follow the link in the description and check it out. But one of the questions that I was getting over and over again was, should I fix rib flare? This is a great question, which we'll be answering in today's video. But if you are trying to address rib flare, you should know that you're going to have to address two areas. And those areas are how you're moving and how you're breathing. So to help you get started today with moving and breathing better, I'm going to link my Breathwork Breakthrough 7-Day Challenge in the description. And instead of the normal $67 investment, you'll be able to get it today for a limited time for just $5. Now, the way that this is going to work is you're going to have to listen to the video and listen for the coupon code that I'll be revealing. You're going to enter that at checkout, and you can get that for only $5. And I'd also appreciate it if you give this video a like for the algorithm so that we can get this out to more people and help more people. So without further ado, let's go ahead and answer the question, should I fix rib flare? So before we answer the question of should you fix rib flare, let's talk about why you might want to and why you might not want to fix rib flare. So rib flare is often an indication of how you're moving and breathing. And oftentimes this can come with specific movement limitations and breathing strategies. So if you're having trouble moving and you don't have the mobility that you want, or you can't efficiently produce force in the way you want, or you have breathing strategies that are contributing to dysregulation in your nervous system, then you might want to address rib flare. However, a word of caution here is that if you're addressing something that doesn't need to be addressed, this could really take a toll on your mental health or really just waste your time that could be better spent doing other training that might be more beneficial. And now beyond that, a bigger point that we're going to make in this video is that by understanding when you should and when you should not address posture, you might have a better idea of how human beings are actually moving. This will give you some insight into ways to construct a more intelligent and effective training program. So let's go ahead and answer the question, should you fix rib flare? So now just to review, what is rib flare? So rib flare is this flared out appearance here at the lower rib cage, and we have a couple of different types here. But in most cases, we have a posterior compressive strategy that pushes the lower rib cage forward in space like this. And oftentimes we see that the rib cage tips back like this. Now, for some people, there's an additional compressive strategy here right above the flare, and that actually exaggerates that component of the flare. And in this case, we likely have more contribution of the diaphragm being in a descended and overworked state, which is actually starting to pull the ribs in a little bit, which then exaggerates the flare. So in that case, breathing is going to play a much bigger role. So if that sounds like you, you're definitely going to want to get that Breathwork Breakthrough Challenge. So now with this distinction being made, we really had group 1, which was more just positional, and then group 2, which was position, but also shape change. So just realize that if you have more of a shape change component, then this has been thousands of hours of moving, thousands of hours of breathing. It's probably going to take a little bit longer to actually address that rib flare in that case. And again, the breathing will be a little bit more important. Now, with this being said, it's really important to realize that rib flare, or really any other postural issue, is just the visual appearance. And this visual appearance alone doesn't tell us a whole lot about how we're moving or our breathing. So yes, it can be a clue, but it doesn't tell us the whole story. Static posture is always less important to how we're moving and breathing than dynamic tests that show us a better, truer read on what our actual function is. So to break this down a little bit, let's say we have two people that have rib flare. One person has limited mobility, they have a dysregulated nervous system, and they can't efficiently produce force or manage their center of gravity. This person might have movement limitations and might have discomfort and all sorts of things that could be positively impacted by working on rib flare. However, if we have a second person who's not limited in any of those ways, but just tends to hang out in that position we talked about, or tends to have a rib cage that's shaped that way, then they're probably not going to want to spend a lot of time addressing rib flare because they could probably just spend that time doing something else that'd be more beneficial. So really that dynamic function, which we'll be talking about here in a second, is really the biggest indication of whether or not you should or should not try to fix rib flare. So with all this being said, how do you know if you should fix it? So we just learned that dynamic capabilities are going to be a lot more important than static positioning or shape alone. And the way that you want to do this is by using some sort of an objective test. Now, the test we're showing here is a back-to-wall overhead reach, and this will give you an indication of if you have that posterior compression here on the lower aspect of the rib cage. So you want to get that rib cage nice and flat against the wall. You're going to turn your palm open so your palm, your elbow, and your shoulder are all lined up. You're going to reach up while maintaining that rib cage in a relatively still position. As you're reaching up, if you can't get beyond about 90 degrees or 120 degrees, then you might benefit from actually addressing some of these rib flare related issues. But if you're able to get way up the wall, you can walk up, you get beyond that 120 degrees, then you're probably okay and will be better suited focusing on other aspects of your training. So if you're in that second category and you will benefit from addressing rib flare, go ahead and check out the video down in the description. Now, regardless of what your answer was to should you fix rib flare, if you want to improve your breathing, go down below and get my Breathwork Breakthrough 7-Day Challenge. Use the coupon code BETTERBREATH at checkout, it's all one word, and what is normally a $67 investment can be yours today for just $5. I'll be putting this up for a limited amount of time, so go ahead and do that now. Now, last but not least, another common question is, what should you do if your rib cage has actually changed shape? Is working on rib flare then going to change the shape of the rib cage back to a more normal shape? Now, the answer to this is maybe. So it took thousands of hours of moving and breathing to get into that position and into that shape. So it might take some time to get out of that. It's going to be way less than thousands, but the shape change aspect of the rib cage is often tied into your breathing strategies. So it's often a little bit harder to change this because this is something that's so natural and ingrained, and it's not something that you're able to consciously control. So if that's the case, you're definitely going to want to double down on the breathing. Go ahead, get the Breathwork Breakthrough 7-Day Challenge. Again, use that coupon code BETTERBREATH, and I think that you'll find that will help you in your efforts to start to reshape your rib cage. All right, guys, so that does it for this video. The big takeaway is that dynamic capabilities are always more important than static posture. So if you do need to improve those dynamic capabilities, get that Breathwork Breakthrough or go follow the link to my other guide on how to fix rib flare. That's it for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Until next time, peace.